All right, week 17, and a Merry Christmas, Happy New Year's, Happy Holidays to your family from mine. It's been 17 weeks of phenomenal NFL football here on the show, and there was no better time of year to send my love and appreciation to you for supporting me all year long. It's JV on the JV Show for a special Christmas episode. I'm down south for vacation over Christmas, over the holidays. If you didn't know, that's why. There's the new setup. The lighting's all off behind me. I apologize. Did what I could, brought the mic to stand, the camera here to shoot a few episodes because I knew we'd have some crazy content to go over. Crazy might be a little bit over the top considering what we watched on Christmas. You know, the NFL tried to wiggle its way here into Christmas. It is the NBA's day. The NFL does a lot of great things. I think they got what they deserved for trying to push Christmas Day. 3 games that were interesting, to say the least. We'll talk about them today. But nonetheless, it is a beautiful time of year. If you haven't already, please go hang out with some loved ones. Talk to the people that really matter in your life. Give some gifts, get some gifts. But most importantly, cherish and appreciate the great people in your life. Understand the significance of this holiday season and enjoy some time off. It's been a wonderful holiday season for myself already. These next few weeks with football, the regular season ending, the playoffs ramping up. How can you not be excited, man? How can you not be excited? Christmas Day, we had 3 games. Not phenomenal games, not great games, but just matchups that were on TV because you got nothing else to watch. The first, probably the most entertaining, Cowboys 30, Washington Commanders 23. Listen, my opinion has never changed on these two teams. The Cowboys all year long have been a pretty high-powered offense. I think they're like second or third in points for on the season. They might honestly be first. Dak Prescott has had a phenomenal year. 19 of 37, 307 yards, 2 touchdowns against the Commanders. He's been, a top 10 quarterback for sure all season long, I would say. And Dak really is one of those guys that gets a lot of backlash from the media because the amount of money he makes is insane. I recognize that for sure. Also because he's the quarterback of the Cowboys. But he's a really good guy. Like, he really is. And his talent, I mean, it doesn't give you like the Allen or Lamar or Mahomes, but it's up there. Like, he's a really great thrower of the football, and you can definitely form a team around him. And my stance, again, on this team, it hasn't changed in that you have Dak right now, I think, at the peak of his NFL career. It is like year 9 or year 10 for him, and this was the season I watched, and I was like, Dak's really good. He can probably get the job done. He is arguably a top 10 quarterback in the league. He's moving really well this year, throwing the rock pretty consistently, very confidently, especially over the middle. That was one thing I took away from this season. And he had a lot of big-time performances this year. Unfortunately, not good enough to get the job done. But that really falls on this piss-poor defense, this piss-poor secondary all year, which has just been a complete embarrassment. Now, the big question I asked last week, and it kind of remains, is like, do you bring back George Pickens? I think you do. And I won't go into depth on this because I talked about it last week on the show. But George Pickens has really been a pivotal part of this offense all year long. Got selected to the Pro Bowl for whatever that's worth. Doesn't really mean much to me. The Pro Bowl lost its legitimacy about a year or 2 ago when they were just bringing in any Tom, Dick, and Harry. Like, it was pretty embarrassing. This year, it's a little bit more legit, I would say, but there are still a few questionable picks, as there always is. But nonetheless, George Pickens has been pretty phenomenal all year long. And when the Pro Bowl was legit, he would have definitely been one of the guys making it, which he did this year. And there's a good reason why. I think he's got like 1,300, 1,400 yards. He's up there in touchdowns. Like, he's been stellar this year. Definitely the number 1 in Dallas this year, at least. CD obviously there. He's been the number 1 for how long now, dominating in Dallas. That duo is enough to power this entire offense to 30 points a game, 33 points a game next season if they can get George Pickens back. I think he's a pivotal part of this offense, and it's crucial to go out and at least make an attempt to bring him back. What you got to do is address the secondary and get a needle mover at edge rusher. This is exactly what I said last week. My thoughts remain the same. They will until we find out where George Pickens is landing next season. But I think he's shown you enough this year to go out and get him. Dak's moving. He's playing at a really high level right now. And Javonte Williams, he's had a really good year as well. So I think offensively you've got a lot figured out, but defensively is where you're going to need to invest, free agency, draft. And if you can focus there, get a few game-changing guys, Dallas probably looks pretty good heading into next year. Washington, I mean, again, same story. Old team, you need to revamp. Jaden Daniels is definitely the guy, but you need to start building around him, right? Like, I know you gave Terry the bag. He's older, though. He's 30 years old, which is shocking. Debo, again, older. He's had a decent season, all things considered. Defensively, you're old. Zach Ertz, I'm assuming this is his last year on IR for the rest of the season. Austin Eckler, same deal. You're just going to need to revamp, arguably rebuild. I don't want to say that because you do have a franchise quarterback and you have some playmakers, but there is a lot of work to be done. It did feel a little bit magical last year, like they were riding this wave, and that was the opportunity, although I wouldn't blame it on anyone in Washington. Philly was a tough team to go and beat. They were really a super team. They had a top 10 player at almost, if not every position. So you kind of had that feeling, well, you get a win versus the Bucs, you clutch up against the Lions. At some point, it was going to end, right? And that was the chance. And I feel like now it's just a process of rebuilding. You have your franchise QB. Let's keep him safe here. Get him off the field when he's injured, please. And give him some support here. You need to beef up this roster with young talent. Go out and draft. Get younger guys in the building. Start building this younger culture. Because when you're the oldest team in the league, rarely is that going to work out for you on the injury side of things. Eventually, you're going to kind of fall apart. And that's just father time, right? Catching up to you. So those are my thoughts on the Cowboys Commanders. Now moving to the games that played into the playoff picture. Vikings 23, Lions 10. Lions have now been eliminated from the playoffs. Jared Goff looked horrendous. 18 of 29, 200 yards, touchdown, 2 interceptions, 5 sacks, 65 passer rating. You also had a fumble or 2 in there. Jared Goff is officially aging out. And I said this to start the season. Everyone hypes this guy up as a top 8 quarterback in the NFL. Jared Goff gets all this love because he's a phenomenal pocket QB. And I'm not denying that. But it got to the point this year where I was watching Colin Cowherd call this guy a future Hall of Famer. Jared Goff isn't a future Hall of Famer. Jared Goff throws the ball really well from the pocket, but he also has some glaring weaknesses in his game. Jared Goff can't survive in the NFL anymore. He's got concrete on his feet. He cannot move outside the pocket. And his arm isn't necessarily trustworthy. When he had his shot in the Super Bowl, his team put up 3 points. When the conference was theirs for the taking, They blew a lead to the Niners, and he turned the ball over a handful of times against the Commanders last year. And now in a game that was must win for this team to make the playoffs, Jared Goff fell apart again. So I made a video a few weeks ago talking about the transition of quarterback play from the pure pocket passer. We kind of saw it with Rivers, a guy that controls the line of scrimmage, who sits in the pocket and just delivers and blows apart defense just with his mind and his arm. Now to this like athletic prototype of the quarterback. Your Lamars, your Jalen's, your Caleb Williams, your Jaden Daniels, even guys like Herbert, Josh Allen, who aren't absolutely lethal on the ground, but can definitely torch you with their legs. That is the new generation of quarterback play. You have more athletic edge rushers. You have quicker linebackers. You have guys that are just more athletic, better rushing the QB. And sometimes, more often than not, you're going to need to escape the pocket and make a play on the run or pick up some yardage with your legs. Jared Goff's game is not suited for that anymore. I said he was a dying quarterback in the league. It was a dying breed of QBs. And I feel like now we're really starting to see it. Like, Jared Goff, it's just not going to work. The Lions won't win a Super Bowl with Jared Goff. It's not going to happen. In the big moments, I've seen him fold for the most part. And when his arm is not performing, he's really got nothing else to fall back on. And the Lions, for the entire year, it's felt off. I said it to start the season. The window for the Lions slammed shut when Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn left. And when they lost Ragnow, it was like, all right, we're missing some key parts to this team. We need to protect Goff. We're not going to do that this year. Offensive line was sketchy all year long. Ben Johnson was an offensive mastermind. You lose him. Who's calling the plays this year? I don't even know. Dan Campbell took over at some point. Automatically, you're like, holy shit, that's not good. And defensively, I mean, I know you had a lot of injuries, but again, you had the opportunity to capitalize these last few years. Last year, too, you suffered with the injury bug, but that 2023 run really was magical. It's like, what were you doing at that point? Well, you blew a lead to the Niners. The window's not open for these teams for that long. You know, you're not all going to get this Kansas City, Buffalo Bills window. You need to win when you can, and the Lions didn't. Dan Campbell, there's a post coming out today about him. I talked about it last week. He needs his two coordinators to be great. And this is, again, not a knock on Dan Campbell. He was brought in to change the culture, and he did, but I just don't trust him calling the plays. I don't trust him as a key play caller for this offense. So the Lions, who were riding this high, I feel like, for a few years, almost got into that expectation mode of, we're going to make the playoffs. No doubt in our minds. Nobody can edge us out of this division. Nobody can push us so far away from the playoff picture that we actually miss it. Even I was like, okay, their Super Bowl window's closed, but they have enough talent to make it to the playoffs, to make a wild card spot. Unfortunately not. And the loss of Ben Johnson Aaron Glenn, pieces on the O-line, the injuries, they all kind of came together and dragged this team down. And as a result, you're going to Cancun early. You're going to Cancun early. There's going to be some big decisions made for this organization, as there are younger guys who deserve contracts. That time is coming soon. So the front office is going to have to figure things out and be like, all right, these are our priorities. These are where we need to improve. These are the areas. Our guys need to get healthy. Let's find a coordinator and move forward from there. Because now you got a competitive division too. Tough conference to play in. The wildcard teams, all of them, are going to be really good. The worst is probably the Packers right now, and that's only because of their injuries. So you're in a competitive division, conference. You need to step things up next year. Even the Vikings, the Vikings are quietly 8-8. The Minnesota Vikings are 8-8. And they dealt with J.J. McCarthy, who couldn't string together 3 passes in a row for the first half of the season. So quietly, this team has won 8 games, and they were only a win or 2 away from the playoff picture. The Vikings have a good team. They have built this structure. Defensively, they are elite. That's what this season tells me, because you don't win games with subpar quarterback play. And when I say subpar, I mean like terrible at points. You don't win games if your defense isn't good, and you got that. Brian Flores is going to have a head coaching job next year. I firmly believe that. There will be a few teams at least going after him. But considering how they started, they sweep the Lions. Imagine I told you that. Imagine I told you the Vikings sweep the Lions at the start of the season and they miss the playoffs. I really believe that if they had consistent quarterback play from J.J. McCarthy all year long, they could have done it. They could have made the playoffs. I predicted them to make the playoffs this year, and this is why, because the team is good. The team is good. They have a good roster. They're just missing consistent quarterback play right now, and J.J. picks it up at the end of the year. It's like, well, where the hell was this? Where was this for the first 8 weeks of the year when we needed you? JJ's injuries really concern me too. He's missed so many games as a young quarterback. That is not good for your development. But yeah, it's kind of interesting. Like, the Vikings quietly had a decent year. I don't know if that plays to their benefit because they just got a lower draft pick now. But it's probably encouraging. I don't know what they do quarterback-wise next year. I think you kind of got to give JJ another shot, another crack at things the way he was ending his season. But the injuries really concern me. Like, you got to plan for the future as well. You can't just put all your eggs in one J.J. McCarthy basket here like you did this season. You got to think logically here. If you're the front office, like, okay, we clearly have talent. We're going to need to patch up this loss of Brian Flores inevitably once he leaves. And the quarterback position will need to fix. Whether it's our guys and developing them or going out and getting someone, one of two options. And then I think the Vikings are fine. You know, the offense, very talented, weapons all around. And defensively, again, if they can get a coordinator that even does 85% of the job Flores did, which is a big ask for sure, I think you'll be fine. The final game at night, Broncos 20, Chiefs 13, no Mahomes, probably Kelsey's last game at Arrowhead, I believe. Fans are complaining, and rightfully so. I mean, I feel like you expect more out of a Broncos team that is 13-3 now. against the Chiefs team that is 6-10, that has been knocked out of the playoffs with no Mahomes. But at the same time, like, it's a divisional game, and I know that's a cheap excuse. It is, but the Broncos have won a lot of these games this year, a lot of these gritty, kind of ugly wins. And it is very true that when you get into these divisional atmospheres, it's tougher. I think what's important to realize is the Broncos this year swept the Chiefs. Bo Nix has played some really great football to end the season. I know the stats might not reflect it from this game, but Nick Bolton made a pretty phenomenal pick. Like, I'll give the Chiefs defense credit there. I won't necessarily knock Nix on that one, although it was his fault, obviously. But if Cortland Sutton makes a few key grabs, they had 5 drops on the night. They dropped balls all year long. If Cortland Sutton makes a key grab over the middle to extend the drive, and then in the end zone for a touchdown, this game isn't even close. So I get where the frustration is coming from the fans' perspective about Denver. But I think they're fine. I think my biggest concern for this team is getting this run game going. You have to figure that out. And I don't know if it's too late at this point, but you need to get that going. The offense doesn't have an overwhelming amount of talent, so it's not as easy to put up points on the board, but your defense has been pretty solid all year long. Pretty solid. You're going to need the defense to step up in the playoffs. That's what you bank on. That's what you fall back on. And Bo Nix, for if they win the game next week against the Chargers and get the bye, for 3 games, is going to need to play his best football. It's the playoffs. You need a quarterback. You need him to take over the game. And you need the defense to step up. I fear the run game will not come around for them. I loved R.J. Harvey coming out of college. Thought he was a great pick for this team. But also, it just hasn't worked all year. And I don't necessarily blame Harvey. I'm not necessarily pointing a finger at anyone. But that hasn't been a strong suit of this team. So you're going to rely on Nix, his ability to escape the pocket, be a playmaker with his legs, which he was against the Chiefs. Pretty impressive. He had 9 carries, 42 yards, and a touchdown. Pretty impressive play he made down in the red zone for a TD with his legs. But you're falling back on Cortland Sutton, a guy you gave a lot of money to in the offseason. Lil Jordan Humphrey has kind of emerged as one of the weapons in this offense. He's looked really good. Troy Franklin, Marvin Mims. These are the guys you're going to need to step up to get a crucial TD when it matters. But honestly, you fall back here on Bo Nix. Can Bo Nix do it? I mean, he's won back-to-back 10-plus win seasons. 10 wins last year, this year 13 so far. I think he can. I think he's a good quarterback. This is going to be the real test, though. The Chiefs, we've talked about them as well. Like, this game didn't mean anything. I guess good on them for keeping it close with a team that is probably going to get the bye. Maybe. They obviously need to win next week. But without Travis Kelce next year, I'm assuming he retires. That's kind of where things are trending. There are going to be some spots you need to fill. I know Travis wasn't the same player this year he's been in previous seasons. He's kind of been on the downwards trend into retirement. But he's still an important part of this offense. He still makes plays. He is still the security blanket you can kind of fall back on. You're going to need to fill that spot. I think they go out and they get a game changer, a difference maker at receiver or tight end. I've heard a lot of people rumor Kyle Pitts Wouldn't mind that. I think Kyle Pitts is great. But they need somebody that can come in and handle the workload with Mahomes. I don't know what Mahomes, his health looks like going into week 1 of 2026. But you're going to need to get like somebody that's not Rashee Rice or Hollywood or Worthy, a game changer, a number one, an alpha, because they don't have that anymore without Travis Kelce. And the run game, it was only inevitable that you fell off this Hunt, Pacheco train, whoever the hell you got back there, and invest in a real running back. Somebody that can bring you a little bit of juice. You don't need a Bijan or a Jahmyr Gibbs, but somebody. Even like how Rico Dowdle was this year for the Panthers when he broke out. Somebody that you can rely on to give the rock and say, go for 150 today. Go for 150 for us. Open up the game. Let's open it up. And then we can feed off that with the pass game, with our RPOs, with our play actions, etc. So those are my thoughts. That was Christmas Day. Nothing too crazy happened. Obviously, Lions missed the playoffs. Broncos get an opportunity here to clinch. Packers clinch the playoffs. We're ramping up to the playoffs. We are getting prepared for an awesome January/February of NFL football. As always, it's been a blessing. I appreciate the support all year long. Have a wonderful day. Enjoy the holidays, and I'll catch you soon for the Sunday recap. Take care, y'all.